He's editor-in-chief of Breitbart News and a New York Times best-selling author. And on this podcast, he brings deep research, prescient analysis, and world-class guests. He's Alex Marlow, and this is The Alex Marlow Show.
Welcome to The Alex Marlow Show. I hope all of you had a terrific weekend. I had a great weekend. It was my first weekend, I would say, off-ish. Did a little work, as always, but off-ish for some months. It was great experience. I gave my son, Master Marlow, his birthday present, which was a trip to the Magic Castle in Los Angeles. His birthday was 5 months ago. So we just got around to it. It shows how busy we are. I guess, does that make me a bad dad or a great dad? Because we went to the Magic Castle, a world famous magic joint. It's one of the best places in the world to see a magic show. And when you're 6 years old, that's pretty premium. It was all thanks to fans of mine of Breitbart who gifted me, well, not the tickets, I had to pay for those, but they gifted me the opportunity to go to a private club. It was not without some peril, though. They have a dress code there, which is sort of formal, but not really. It's like you can dress in clown colors, but you gotta have the right lapels or something. And I was wearing one of the nicest items I own, which is a pair of hand-stitched Italian but tennis shoe shaped shoes from Ralph Lauren. They're one of the most expensive items they're most expensive item in my wardrobe for sure. And but they're shaped like a tennis shoe, so that was not good enough. So then I would get swapped out for dress shoes, and then I got a blister at the Magic Castle. So I finally get a day off, and I get a blister from borrowed shoes to the Magic Castle. But other than that, it was a perfect day. There's really impressive entertainers out there, and I just feel like people are going to miss out on that if we're just too into the TikTok reels. That you got to practice really hard because these people are funny, they are magical. I don't know how any of the tricks work. I couldn't figure out a single trick, watching tricks all day, but that was pretty great. It was a pretty great weekend. And then we got the biggest news of it all, which is that Master Marlow is now the first grade science fair champion at the local school. He beat everyone, beat them all. Beat Avery's family, beat Vivian's family, all of them. They went down big to Master Marlow. His experiment was he did this thing where he wanted to figure out who's a taster and who's a non-taster and who's a super taster by looking at the quantity of taste buds. And it's a really fun experiment. So I recommend this to all of you with young kids. So you put a shot of food coloring on your tongue, swish it around. And then you take one of those binder reinforcers that reinforce the holes when you got a binder for like kids in school and it rips. You put a little reinforcer sticker on there so it won't rip again. And you put that in your tongue and then you count how many taste buds are in the tongue. It's fun for the whole family. And you learn that there's an inverse correlation with how many taste buds you have and how adventurous of an eater you are. So our hypothesis was the pickier eaters were going to have more taste buds, and that's exactly how it turned out. Master Marlow Jr. is the pickiest eater. He had like 30 taste buds in a little square. Dad Marlow is the most adventurous eater. You know how many I had? I had 4. I had 4 taste buds in this area. Master Marlow Jr. had like 8 times as many taste buds in this surface area. And so whenever I like a smoky scotch or a super spicy the sauce is dousing my chicken with the spicy sauce, it's actually because my taste buds are basically non-existent. I don't have any, and that's why. So I learned a lot, and I'm glad he won, and he's a real champion. Shout out to Mrs. Dr. Marlow, scientist of the family, helping us get the job done. Hey, and for the rest of you who, thanks for playing, thanks for participating, but you're going to have to come to the Marlows every year now because we're ready to rock. Science experiments, baby. It was fun. It's a fun weekend. And so much great news. You may have heard that a tariff war broke out. Those of you who missed Friday's show, I spent an hour on the subject with John Carney. It was a really blast. It was a blast of a show, I have to say. It was really fun talking about all this stuff. And we were so amped up for this trade war. We were ready for it. We thought it was going to work out, and we had no idea it was going to work out quite as well as it did. Trump levies the tariffs. And moments later, it feels like Mexico's folded and he's sending troops to secure the border to avoid Trump's tariffs. Now, he said he's going to do 25% tariffs on Canada and Mexico and 10% tariff on China. But was it really a trade war or was it really a drug war? And we now learn it was basically a drug war. And that's what Trump was trying to do, trying to stop fentanyl. And the tariffs he can take or leave. Look, I think that he wants to do some tariffs because I think he sees the American people as overtaxed and we don't have enough money to spend on the stuff we need to spend it on because we're wasting it in certain places and we're getting rolled by most of the world. More on that in a moment. And he wants to try to rein in some of the money that's going out and bring some money back in. That makes perfect sense. But the main goal is we are dying. We are dying at a very quick clip because of fentanyl, which originates in China and is coming through both of our borders. It's unchecked. He's trying to check it. He's trying to rein it in. And one way to do that is you threaten people with tariffs and all of a sudden they become very helpful. So he talks to Claudia Sheinbaum, who's the president of Mexico. And lo and behold, we're all of a sudden going to see the tariffs not happen in Mexico. They're on a hold. They're on a 30-day pause. As of now, I will read from the president from a truth bomb that came out just before we recorded. I just spoke with President Claudia Sheinbaum of Mexico. It was a very friendly conversation wherein she agreed to immediately supply 10,000 Mexican soldiers on the border separating Mexico and the United States. These soldiers will specifically be designated to stop the flow of fentanyl and illegal migrants into our country. We further agreed to immediately pause the anticipated tariffs for 1 month period during which we will have negotiations headed by Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Secretary of the Treasury Scott Bessent, Secretary of Commerce Howard Lutnick, high-level representatives of Mexico as well. I look forward to participating in those negotiations with President Sheinbaum as we attempt to achieve a deal between our two countries. There you go. So we won. Trump won. So all the hand-wringing, all the people that Chuck Schumer was out there, he was holding up a can of Corona saying that your Super Bowl's not going to be good. He was holding up an avocado saying your Super Bowl's not going to be good. It's so tone deaf. We voted for tariffs. It's one of these ideas that Democrats were cool with that we borrowed. And then the Republican establishment is not a good advocate for anything. So they're the only ones who are really anti-tariff right now, and the libertarians, I guess. So most Republicans back tariffs. And if you look at it, people anticipated tariffs to be much higher than Trump was threatening. Trump was threatening at a lower level than people actually anticipated. And people were cool with it anyway. John Carney's helped me walk through all this. You can refer to Friday's show if you want more detail. The Breitbart Fight Club interview today that I do with him goes into even greater detail on how tariffs work. But what ends up happening is strengthens the dollar, and the way the tariff money is distributed throughout the economy. It's not like if you put a 25% tariff on Mexico, it means the cost of avocado is going up 25%. It'll be a little bit, but it won't even be that much anyway. And people generally think it's worth it because we see people dying from fentanyl as a worthy cause. And maybe perhaps the cost of avocado temporarily goes up a little bit. And if you see the stock market was down, 100 points when we started recording the show. It's just not that big of a deal. It's all stuff that is works into various calculations. Yeah, it's down 0.03% right now. It's up now. It's up. Now it's up. Stock market's up today. So it's just people getting bent out of shape. You don't have to. We voted for this stuff. We trust Trump. Tariffs are an amazing weapon because it gets people to bend the knee. You saw what happened now with Colombia, where we're not going to take our illegal aliens. Okay, we're going to tariff you. Okay, we'll take them. Thank you. Mexico, I don't know if we're going to help with the fentanyl and the illegal alien. Okay, we're going to tariff you. Okay, we'll help. We got 10,000 troops ready to go. So up next, and this will probably happen between when we record and when the show comes out, is that Trump's going to talk to Justin Trudeau. He's actually, right as we're talking, he's supposed to be talking to Justin Trudeau of Canada. You got Chrystia Freeland, who is the deputy prime minister, over the weekend was saying she's furious with Trump and they're challenging our sovereignty. So they're challenging your sovereignty because you won't keep fentanyl out of our country. This is the whole thing. And we played this clip of this Angus guy on the show with Carney on Friday, who's not a powerful guy, but he speaks for left-wing Canadians. And they're acting like it's a threat to their sovereignty that we don't want fentanyl coming through the Canadian border in the United States. If you guys keep talking like this, all my Canadians in the audience, and I know we have many, I'm telling you, you're going to get a massive wall. You're going to get a big, beautiful wall with a big, beautiful door, and there's going to be no fentanyl coming through that door. And tariffs are going to get bigger and the wall's going to get higher if you keep talking like this. It's not how you negotiate with Donald Trump. You're not going to out-alpha him. You need to understand he's in the power position and you got to give him some basic stuff he wants and he will want to address this and move on. He's a decider. He's a man of action. He doesn't want to only focus on you. He doesn't want to dwell on you. He's got his own agenda. The first thing in his agenda is to make sure you're a good partner and the border secure. So if you help us secure the border and you show that you're a good partner willing to play ball with the United States, good things will happen for you. Rising tide is going to lift all boats here, but we're America first. And the first thing we need to do for America is we need to make sure there's no more fentanyl coming through your border. It's number one. So, and if maybe we're going to extract a little more cash out of you, perhaps, maybe try to get a favorable deal, that might happen. But you know what? You're going to have to roll with it. That's what's going to happen. And you putting up a big fight and absurdity. You know what they're doing now? Trudeau is trying to ban imports or tariff imports from red states in the United States. This is a war on our democracy for him to do this. It's an economic war on us if you're targeting red states only, expecting us to be, if you think Americans are going to be supportive of the states that voted for Trump, we're going to tariff you or we're going to block goods, then we're going to get angry with you. Things are going to get worse for you. You can't do that to us. You can, but if you think we're going to come to your side, I mean, this is asking us, and I think it was Kanye who originally made this analogy to me. It's like you commit terrorism against us, you bomb us, and then we're supposed to turn around and think, well, they probably had a point. I mean, they wouldn't have bombed us if they didn't have a point. No, it makes us angry with you. It makes us, that's how you get a trade war. Instead of saying, all right, we get it, we understand the America First stuff. You understand you want drugs coming through our border into your country. So we're going to help out. Maybe we'll negotiate tough ways in some ways, but we get your premise. Instead of starting from there, starting from, you know what? Anyone who voted for Trump, we're going to punish you. All those states. This doesn't work. So anyway, and Trump's tariffs seem to be very well thought out. There weren't that much. He was going to titrate it based off of how essential the industry was. Meaning like for energy, it was going to be lower or nothing at all because Trump wants abundant energy. He's very smart. He knows what he's doing, and he's way better at it now. He's way better at it, and part of it is because he had a lot of time to learn the job. And then any sort of equivocation he might have had about trying to maintain that establishment coalition, all that went away when you guys tried to sue him into bankruptcy and put him in jail and shoot him in the head. All that time you guys spent doing that was all Trump just stealing himself and getting ready to just come in and just plow through his agenda and not ask any questions and not ask your permission and not worry about your feelings. All that's gone now. It's over. And if you're upset about that, then you shouldn't have tried to put him in jail and then kill him. So it just F around and find out, as the expression goes. Potential closure of the USAID draws anger from the Democrats and the media as MAGA praises cutting off unelected bureaucratic state. Wendell Hasibo writes for us at Breitbart News earlier today. Musk is on the move, and DOGE is going to be shutting down the USAID, which is sometimes referred to as USAID. I don't like that. I like spelling it out better. It's kind of knocked as a fourth branch of government because it is just does all this stuff that is we don't really keep an eye on this. But this is a group that is supposed to distribute foreign aid and aid just scattered throughout from federal agencies. There's no accountability here. And Musk has attacked the group by calling it a criminal organization run by radical lunatics. I will offer you the best explanation of the USAID, and this comes from Nayib Bukele, the El Salvador president. And I would explain to you, let me read you this from his X account. Most governments don't want USAID funds flowing into their countries because they understand where much of that money actually ends up. While marketed as support for development, democracy, and human rights, the majority of these funds are funneled into opposition groups, NGOs, and political agendas and destabilizing movements. At best, maybe 10% of the money reaches real projects that help people in need. There are such cases, but the rest is used to fuel dissent, finance protests, and undermine administrations that refuse to align with the globalist agenda. Cutting this so-called aid isn't just beneficial to the United States, it's also a big win for the rest of the world. I mean, is that not beautiful and so well stated? How do you even add to that? That's what this is all about. This is not about us not being charitable anymore. This is about these are hundreds of employees who are spending way too much money, and a lot of it is going to these NGOs with left-wing groups. A lot of it's going to environmental causes. A lot of it's going to bureaucratic trips. It's not really going to help people, and there's no quid pro quo. We're not supposed to just give out aid and get nothing in return. That's become the standard. So it should not be that way. The whole point of these things is so America should get something in return. We are not here to be the world's charity and be the world's welfare state. So it is, if we're going to be giving stuff out, it needs to be crystal clear the American people what we are getting in return. It either needs to be cooperation or it needs to be, if not just cooperation, then it needs to be intelligence, something where the Donald Trump administration can be very clear that we're getting what we need out of these relationships. And that's clearly not the case. And what it is the case is that we're wasting tons and tons and tons of money. And so there needs to be a massive audit. And if Musk is going to start from the place where we're going to zero now, and then if there's 10% of legit stuff, we'll figure that out. And then we can add that later. That's the exact right approach. And that's what I was hoping for with DOGE. And just know you're going to get a lot of mixed content from me on Musk. You're going to get a lot of complaints. You're going to get a lot of, because I call like I see it. Look, we don't do anything for each other. He has not helped us at Breitbart at all. And I don't think I've done a lot to help him. So I'm just calling like I see it. This is a good one. I'm very pleased with this. And if you want any sign that it's going well, take a look at the left-wing freakout that's gone on. Here's our good friend Ilhan Omar in front of, I guess, the USAID building in Washington earlier today.
It is really, really a sad day in America. We are witnessing a constitutional crisis. We talked about Trump wanting to be a dictator on day one, and here we are. This is what the beginning of dictatorship looks like.
So the Department of Justice for Joe Biden had an unconstitutional special prosecutor that tried to jail Trump by investigating him and raiding Melania Trump's underwear drawer and Barron's Peloton room, trying to find stuff so they could prevent Trump from running and winning the election and becoming president again. That was Joe Biden's Justice Department did that. So when Trump comes in and his most powerful, most successful ally gets tapped for a government role where he's supposed to audit waste in the government, and he finds some waste, then we're allowed to do stuff. Elections have consequences. If you don't want us to do stuff, do a better job in the election next time and then win. But you guys didn't win. You guys lost. And so when you run on, we're going to cut a bunch of the excessive federal spending, and then we win, we get to do that. Like you get to do stuff as president. You just sit there and do interviews or not do interviews and then eat ice cream at your beach house and investigate your political opponents. No, sometimes you do stuff like cut government. So it's not being a dictator, it's called being the president.
When you gut the Constitution and you install yourself as the sole power, that is how dictators are made.
Yeah, the Senator Ernst said the USAID had threatened her and her staff after she started looking into them. She was told she wasn't allowed to access their databases and that 30 to 40% of USAID's money goes towards overhead of rent and salaries and entertainment expenses. She later found out that the number was underestimated. It was actually 50 to 60%. You guys see why you might object to some of this? Why we might want to start fresh? Let's hear some more.
What Trump and Elon and all of their cronies are trying to do is take away the constitutional power of Congress. We get to decide. We have the power of the purse. We get to decide where money is allocated, and it's the executive's power to make sure that that money gets to where it needs to get. When we talk about civil servants being let go, what we are talking about is not saving money. It's essentially saying they can get paid while they're home and their work doesn't get done on behalf of the American people.
Is that persuasive to you? I just let her roll because I just want to know, like, are you persuaded by that? Because they need to persuade people. They don't have numbers. And when people feel like that our money's going to be saved, it's not just going to get sent overseas. When we're struggling to make ends meet as American people are broke right now. We're broke. We have a record number of people who are paying the minimum on their credit cards. We still have a home price. So many people are priced out of buying homes. The American dream feels so distant to the American people now. And Donald Trump is trying to jumpstart that again for people. And so he doesn't want all this money going overseas to nowhere, going over to entertainment budgets for bureaucrats. So is she persuading you more than that argument? No. The answer is no. That's why I play it. It was so persuasive. But would I play? I probably would. It might annoy some of you. But no, we'll continue with the Jamie Raskin. Let's see how his hair is doing.
Elon Musk, you didn't create USAID. The United States Congress did for the American people. And just like Elon Musk did not create USAID, he doesn't have the power to destroy it. And who's going to stop him? We are. We're going to stop him. Elon Musk, you may have illegally seized power over the financial payment systems of the United States Department of Treasury, but you don't control the money of the American people. The United States Congress does that.
Yeah, so they control your money. It's sort of a Freudian slip there by Raskin. I will say that, of course, there's going to be issues with some of this stuff. Not all of it's going to work. Some of this is going to get caught up in the courts. And, there's going to be challenges because appropriations does lie with the Congress. So, we're not going to be able to just cut all the spending because a lot of it's already allocated. But I like the focus. We're going to start with the cuts, and then you got to justify your expenses. This is how you run a company, right? If your company was bleeding money, hemorrhaging money, and your debt was getting out of control, then wouldn't that be the approach? Is that, okay, we're going to get to justify all our expenses now. So do you guys feel like all of our expenses that are going overseas in foreign aid, and I'm not a zero foreign aid guy. I just know that we're clearly you spending most of it in useless ways, or ways that, the Victoria Nulands of the Biden administration would do, which is to try to sow discord in other countries. So that's what they would try to do, just fund color revolutions around the world. That's what they like to do. So do we need to be doing all that? If we do, it needs to be justified. Vladimir Zelensky claimed that Ukraine received less than half of the U.S. aid that it was allocated. Don't know where all that money went. He said he got $76 billion out of the $175 billion. So where is the extra $99 billion? I'd like to know. Wouldn't you like to know where all that money went? This is the whole point. This is one of the things that's such a black box, and part of why when we have this funny money, when everything is talked about in terms of hundreds of billions and trillions, and AOC's get the Green New Deal and maybe it's 100 trillion, all of it's fake numbers. None of these numbers can ever be, they're not accurate on a balance sheet. So one of the problems with this is that you lose track, because when you spend this much and there's so much unaccounted for, and so much is just going to be spent in decades from now, but we're spending it today, but we're not going to collect it for many years because taxpayers don't make money that fast. All of it means that we lose track of things that, are like $99 billion. Like, it's just gone because we know where it is. So just know that all of you who differ with me that the government should have no role, the federal government should have no role in rebuilding LA. So the people in Los Angeles who've been forking over hundreds of thousands of dollars a year for the money just to disappear, and then their house burns down. It would be nice if the federal government had our back versus just whoever got that $99 billion that's supposed to go to Ukraine. We didn't want to go to Ukraine, and now we don't even know where it is. Very interesting. All right. Another good news. Trump just continuing to mow through his agenda. Marco Rubio is convincing Panama to exit the Belt and Road Initiative with China. So this is the main ask. So we come in, we're saying we're going to take over the Panama Canal. Okay. So do we really want the Panama Canal? Probably. Yeah, be good. Do we need it? Not necessarily, but what we do need is for China not to be in charge of it. And China is doing their debt trap diplomacy, the Belt and Road Initiative. This is their cheap infrastructure. They come in, they build it, and then you're indebted to them. And you're basically their slave. And this is what they do. So they build stuff on the cheap, and they basically take it over. They've got all the power, and you owe them a lot of money, so you don't give them any guff. They're doing this all over the world. They've done it throughout Africa, and they're doing it now in Central and South America as well. And Panama is key to that. It's a key portion of it. But Panama's government now is pretty conservative. They're favorable to Trump, and they mostly agree that it'd be better if either Panama controlled it or America was a better partner, or America controlled it. That'd be better. So Rubio's down there, and this is not surprising if you're familiar with the Panamanian government, which I am to a certain degree because we track it very closely at Breitbart News. Our editor, Frances Martell, our world editor, is the best Latin America reporter, I would say, in the world. She gets the most comprehensive coverage of that. bottom line. So she pointed out this is happening. China's basically trying to exert Belt and Road manipulation over all these countries, and Panama standing up to them. And because America's got their back, very, very good. So I always like to keep an eye on how the left is responding to this. And what they've done is they've had their new DNC elections. And remember, they've got two ways they can go. They can go, we're going to try to be more moderate. We're going to try to maybe channel some of that Bill Clinton energy from the 90s. Maybe try to take back some of the good ideas that Trump stole from us and just try to be a reasonable party. Or they could just go hard left. They could just go more radical. And they could do sort of thing like, I don't know, get anti-gun zealot David Hogg and elect him vice chairman of the DNC. What did they choose? Well, they chose the latter, of course. So they're going more radical right now. We got some footage of the DNC election. There's so much going on. There's so much woke stuff. They've got like gender quotas for the DNC. But this was a clip that Misty pulled from the presidential DNC race. Here it is. You guys would enjoy this, I promise.
And we'll begin with the opening statements. Each candidate will have 30 seconds. And we'll start with Dr. Quintessa Hathaway.
Good evening, everyone. It is my desire to be the next DNC chair. And I just want to give you all a little bit of something that's been on my heart here over the last couple of days. You fight on, you fight on, you fight on, you fight on. When your government is doing you wrong, you fight on, oh, you fight on.
You know,
thank you, Dr. Hathaway.
Beautiful. What is she a doctor of? I'm guessing astrophysics or pediatric neurosurgery. What is? Wow, it's an impressive group. I would elect her. I did better than Hogg. He sings better, for sure. I haven't heard Hogg sing, though. Yeah, they chose a bunch of white guys to lead, so maybe they're over the woke stuff. I didn't even know who the guy was they chose. I hadn't heard of him, but we'll keep an eye on him. He seems very lame. So they're lost. They don't know what to do. Let's check in on MSNBC. Let's see what's going on over there this weekend.
Our democracy. Well, he did say he'd be a dictator on day one. Oh, Democrats, it's just Trump. He just talks. Well, let me tell you something. He is doing more than talking. We talked about Project 2025. We talked about the consolidation of power. We talked about how he wanted to be a king. We talked about in a democratic republic, that is not what it is. We have some sort of checks and balances, and he is doing everything that he can to get rid of those checks and balances. The DOJ and the people that he's going after were simply doing their jobs. The problem is that Americans thought that it was okay to take a full-fledged criminal and make him the president of the United States, and then they want to act aghast when he does criminal things. Let me tell you, we have a thug in charge of the United States, and if we don't wake up, we may not have a United States, because right now he has only been successful in being a divider in chief.
Look, that's Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett on MSNBC. We got a thug in charge. He's a criminal. It's the same thing. It didn't work. They did this the whole election, and they did worse than they did the last two elections against him. So it doesn't work. But just remember that it's still very close. Trump should have won all 50 states, and he didn't. And so we just need to make sure we run up the score. Of course you want to celebrate. It's such a pathetic look, but just keep that in mind, that we got to try to convince everyone that this is still a popular worldview in this country, that he's just a thug and he's a criminal and all that stuff. It's that he's not, that he has the American people's back, and it's all these people have been ripping us off, and they got us into this huge inflation mess, and they opened our borders and they let fentanyl stream through. They wokeified our military. How's that going? So they could get power yet again. It's just going to be a while though with this stuff. I don't know how could you convince a new person there? I'll give you an update on the last soldier in the Black Hawk helicopter crash. I won't dwell on it because I'm sure most of you are up on this, but it's a Biden White House social media aide, Captain Rebecca Lobach, identified as the third soldier in the crash. So I bring her up. I don't know if she's a pure diversity hire. We know how it looks. I'm not going to say anything that can get taken out of context just because I haven't dug into it that much. We know how it looks. It's a Biden aide doing social media for Biden, young woman, and there it is. I mean, it's just like you do the math. It's you know how it looks. That's all I got to say. And you know why her name was kept out of it was kept out of things. But we know that anyone who is, I don't even talk about Captain Lobach. I don't even talk about her. I don't know anything about her. But I want to tell you that if this was a diversity hire, then everyone responsible should get hauled into court and is accomplice to murder. It just is. It just is what it is. If you're having unqualified people, if that's what this is, and I'm not saying for sure that it is, all caveats in there, it's what it is. And all those figure skaters who are dead now, and the mother of two who the husband was all over the media doing interviews about it, who kids 3 and 1 year old, one of a mom. You should understand that you should be accountable to those families if you're involved in any diversity hires that are going on. So maybe she's the best pilot in the world and that had nothing to do with it. It was just bad luck. But I know how it looks. It doesn't look good. And this is what we need to stop because these are real life consequences. These real people died and the real people's lives will never be the same in a worse way. And if this is because we woke up our military, then it's evil. It's evil. It's an evil thing to have done that. So in the name of diversity. So all the diversity obsessives just know how dangerous it can be. Because I'll tell you, we've seen the footage. It sure looked like this plane drove on a beeline to crash into that passenger plane. And now everyone's dead. So when Trump said this is a diversity thing, this is a DEI woke thing, he wasn't just shooting off at the hip. He knew the names of the pilots right away. So when everyone's saying, oh, Trump doesn't know what he's talking about, like, oh, he's making this political right away. Like, he knew what was going on. That's why he spoke that way at the start. So I'm making a point here that's political, but it's not political. It's about safety. It's about having a society of science, restoring law and order, restoring truth. We can't have that if we're trying to balance the scales in a way that nature is just does not want it. So I'm going to be really careful here. Be really careful. So again, I don't know all the details of the specific case. Maybe she was really, really qualified. But I'll tell you, given what Trump said and given how this looks, given how they kept the name silent, we know how this appears. This appears that this is a big mistake. And that's what Secretary Hegseth got to do. Got to make sure that it's the last time this ever happens. We have to have high standards. Our standards need to be high. You know what's great about high standards? Either you hit the standard, which is ideal, or you get really close trying hard. If the standards are low, you don't try as hard. Think about this in your personal life. Anytime you set a standard, it is, even if you don't hit it, just think about something small like your fitness, your nutrition. I mean, I've never been as fit as I want to be, but when my standard is really high for myself, I get very close. And when my standard is lower, I'm not as close. And sometimes you're a little disappointed. You never get where you want to go. You don't get quite to the level you want. But if you come up short after having made a lot of progress. And that needs to be how we run our country. We can't run our country doing equity and inclusion. Equity and inclusion is not what this country is about. Our country needs to be about excellence. This is not excellent, what happened. And now a bunch of people are dead. So can we pursue excellence as a value, or is that not an American value anymore? I think it is. I think it is an American value. All right. Aloha at alexmarlow.com. If you want to be a part of the show, I will tell you that I have a new sponsor to the show, and I couldn't be more thrilled about this. As a man of a certain age, a lot of my free time is spent grilling. And I'm in California, but even if you're not in California, when it's cold outside, you do not need to stop grilling when you've got a Solaire infrared grill. You guys have heard about Solaire before. If you're a podcast listener, I know Victor Davis Hansen's a big Solaire guy, and it's a big endorsement because he's a serious thinker. And heats up in 3 minutes, moves fast, and even in the cold, you can do it. And it heats up your food directly, not the air around the food like a conventional grill. It's not like an oven. It is a direct heat, intense heat, and it gives you the juiciest food you'll ever taste. It's juicier than gas. Charcoal doesn't dry out your meat because cooking it fast. But for me, as a steak guy, you get that sear. And that delicious crust is that caramelization. Oh, you got to get in the caramelization zone with that crust. You get your favorite rub on there. And it's so good. It just elevates it to another level. And you can only get it if you get a ultra hot grill. This is why the Solaire Grill Stone is the best hot grill. BestHotGrill.com to pick one up is BestHotGrill.com. Tastes great. Great people. Made in America. They're really local to me, so I'm going to go out there and visit them. But it gets hotter than anything you've ever experienced. You can get really small ones. Mine's really compact. It's like the size of my computer. Or you can get a big one too. You can get one that get like 100 burgers on there. If that's your jam. I'm not the type of guy who's ever had to cook 100 burgers, but I bet you could. So USA made Solaire infrared grills, as hot as it's going to get. You're going to get that great sear on your meat, and anything you can cook on there is great. Great sponsors, great people. BestHotGrill.com, new advertiser. Glad to have them. All right, moving into some fun entertainment news. Did you guys check out the Grammys? So everyone is talking about, you know what they're talking about. Kanye West's wife was completely nude. She was in a dress, but it wasn't really a dress, but like a piece of film. And I got to say, there's something going on here that is, it's compelling. And I'm not going to take the really normie take. A lot of people outraged online, just trying to get attention, sign of desperation. Like, I don't think that's what it is. I think what Kanye was doing was he was sucking up all the oxygen in the room. All these people have not been good to him. And all he had to do was have his wife parade around, who basically is a model anyway. She kind of looks like Kim Kardashian, but if Kim Kardashian was a robot, kind of like a sex bot Kim Kardashian is what she looks like. She looks like Kim Kardashian with less facial expression. And it's all pornographic. It's all R-rated. But basically, she comes out in the see-through dress, and that's all people talk about. It's all people are clicking on online. They're not talking about the awards. They're not talking about the performances. They're talking about Kanye's wife walking around. He completely usurped all of the attention of the entire event. Someone who is probably at his lowest point with the music industry, and not without some reason. It's not like everything Kanye says is something I endorse. But these people don't like him, and he doesn't like them back, and he just took up all their attention. So there's a sort of a subtle brilliance to it. It's very simple. He just manipulated everyone with this move. Now he's kind of, I mean, sorry for the expression, but he's whoring out his wife, obviously. So it's not, I don't believe in that. But I do like that it was at the expense of all of these other people who are really lame and woke and stupid and overpaid and not making good music, and they didn't get the attention, and instead Kanye's wife did. And I thought that was kind of hilarious. Did you guys know that Beyonce won Country Album of the Year? So you got to email me on this if those of you are country listeners. I've not heard her country album, but I will tell you Beyonce is wildly overrated. And when I tell you they're rigging the Super Bowl, or I'm sorry, not rigging the Super Bowl. I don't think they care who wins the Super Bowl, but they rigged the playoff game to make sure the Chiefs are in the Super Bowl so Taylor Swift could be there. And then you see Beyonce has now got the most Grammys of all time. And she's got the best country album of the year. Do you guys think that maybe our elites are rigging things and maybe things are not above board in our entertainment class? Maybe it's all just a corporation-y play to make money? All of it's about hype. All of it's about attention. All of it's about selling product and not about integrity or honesty or beauty or art or music. None of that really matters. And really what matters is what sells product, what gets people to tune in or buy some more albums or whatever. Not about what's best, but what is the most attention grabbing. So that's what it is. So just forget that. We do not forget that we are in a hyper corporatized moment. We're very corporation-y right now. I don't love the corporations. I really don't. So you got to be on the lookout for that. Yeah, let's see what else. Pop star Chappelle Rowan. I would not be here without trans girls. Yeah, they're not done with the woke stuff over there. They're still doing the trans stuff. I'm really looking forward to this Oscars saga. You guys have been following this at Breitbart, but they've got a trans actress who's actually a man, Carla Sofia Gascon, who's the front runner to win Best Actress, even though it's a dude. And he only started impersonating a woman when he was in his 40s. So, but apparently this guy called George Floyd a drug addict and a hustler. Both those are true, though. It's not so bad. And he denigrated Islam. I don't know what it is. But now the woke mob is coming after the tranny who's probably going to win Best Actress. If you're not here for that, then you and I have totally different senses of humor, because that is exactly my sense of humor. I'm so not, I mentioned this last week, I'm so not in the camp of being outraged over this. I just want to pop the popcorn. And this is so much more entertaining than any of these movies. The woke wars, because the woke crowd has to go to war with one another. It's not enough just to be left. It's better to be trans. But if you are trans and you're not pro George Floyd, then who wins out? Who's higher in the woke hierarchy? An Islamophobe trans or just a regular woman? I don't know. We're about to find out. We're about to see if this person's going to get canceled, even though this person is trans, because they're not doing a good whatever it is for the. He's not representing Black Lives Matter. Awesome stuff. Awesome stuff, man. So cool. I guess I'll bring up one other piece of good news. Breitbart getting more, I guess, permanent spot at the White House, at the Pentagon press corps. It's all great. You know, we did help Trump win in 2016. So I can't say I'm shocked that we're getting more acknowledgement and accolades, but it's a good thing. And we just cover the Pentagon more accurately. Of course, we wanted Pete Hegseth to get confirmed, and I'm sure that was part of the decision-making that went into that. But overall, the main thing is that we just report things as they happen, and we're not just trying to give you our agenda all the time. We're just trying to, and I'll tell you our agenda. I got a show. Just send me an email and ask me, what's your agenda? I will explain it on the air. I will, I promise. Or if you're a reporter, call me up. I will explain our agenda. But overall, our agenda is mostly to tell our audience what's going on. And that's worked for us for a long time. And it's going to work for us for many decades to come. So the legacy media just dominated the Pentagon press corps, and all they've done is prop up things like infinite Ukraine aid, infinite Gaza aid, COVID vaxes, or else you get kicked out of the military. They've been mouthpiece for the General Millies of the world. So the American people don't want that anymore. They want something else. So Breitbart, other conservative outlets, we're going to get some more attention, I guess. And that's better for the Pentagon officials. It is. We're going to report on them more accurately. And I love the troll. They include the Huffington Post, also founded by the one and only Andrew Breitbart. May he rest in peace. So Andrew founded Huffington Post as well. And a long story that I'll save for a shorter show, I think. All right, let's do some email. Why don't we do some email? All right, Mike Kowalski. Alex, the wires seem to have gone pretty quiet on the scandal of LA's mayor preemptively contracting with a rebuilding czar without seeking input or approval from the citizens, particularly the victims of the various fires there. Could you dive into that activity and shed some sunlight on what sounds like a potential massive opportunity for graft and corruption at the expense of the federal government and the fire victims? Given how badly the Democrats in charge of the city and state mismanaged everything related to preventing and then dealing with the fires, I find it virtually impossible that they will be able to successfully manage the rebuilding effort and at the same time keeping their hands out of the till. Mike Kowalski, wonderfully stated. I have very little to add other than that I share skepticism, and one of the roles of the show will be to keep giving attention to things that deserve attention, that need attention. And this is one of these things that did happen, that Karen Bass just appointed an outside person, some sort of a contractor without consultation of the people in the Palisades, as far as I could tell, to lead the rebuilding effort. It is not someone close to President Trump, which was stupid. It is not someone who is necessarily a great builder. You guys know I don't trust Steve Soboroff, who is kind of her right hand in this as well. Another guy who's just a part of the LA establishment that's messed things up to this point. Rick Russo should have been in charge, for sure. He's a builder. He was able to save his luxury mall within the Palisades. He was the guy to do it. But the problem is he's going to run perhaps against Karen Bass for mayor, and he'll probably win. So she's not going to make his life easier to win and beat her at the mayorship in 3 years, which is going to happen. And so I guess maybe it's even now in 2 years. Is it? I got to look that up, but it's coming up. But he's probably going to be the next mayor, and she's not going to make his life any easier to get there. And thus we'll get more corruption, and we need to stay vigilant on this, but we will. Joel Pollack will be on it for us. All right, here's another one from Paul Eakins. Alex, love your January 31st show with John Carney. I did too. And the segments on tariffs. A clip was shown of Charlie Angus, a member of the Canadian Parliament, analogous to your Congress, complaining about the tariffs and claiming to defend Canadian values. He's a member of the Socialist New Democratic Party and who hold only 24 out of the 338 seats in the House of Commons, like your House Representatives. While he is technically a member of the Canadian government and votes in the passage of legislation, he's a member of the opposition party only, and his statements do not reflect the Canadian government's policy, nor the opinions of a great many Canadians, including myself. Now, I'm aware of this, but I did want to read this anyway, because it does emphasize that when I was playing Charlie Angus on the show, and I apologize, I did mispronounce his name and call him Charlie Anus. I did not mean to. That was unintentional, but we do have corrections on the show, and his name is not Charlie Anus. And if anyone tells you it is, they probably only heard that because I mispronounced it, and I'm really sorry to Mr. Angus. Sorry. But I played the clip mostly to illustrate how not to negotiate with Trump and how the far left in Canada doesn't get it. Very similar to the clips I play of Ilhan Omar. Ilhan Omar has very limited power right now, but she does have a lot of cultural currency in certain parts of the country. So I don't play those clips because Ilhan Omar is a threat right now, but it is important to monitor where things are percolating in terms of ideas that could emerge and become ideas that define the anti-Trump movements, both here in the States and abroad. Sort of my specialty growing up in LA, going to Berkeley, and you would be shocked at how many crazily radical ideas are ridiculous today, but are the mainstream idea in 9 months. So that's why I bring that up. Email continues. I say this as it would be helpful to counter opinions such as his with those of our Alberta Premier, analogous to American Governor Danielle Smith, who advocates for quiet diplomacy based on strong personal relationships. I would argue that it is far more representative than Canadian values and the type of grandstanding offered by Mr. Angus. I think that this is a great idea, and it prompted me to think of something. You can email me tips, aloha@alexmarlow.com. Any story you want to see me cover on the show, any clips you would love to hear me respond to on the show, because you know I love responding to my clips, then send it my way and we'll do them. Enjoying the weekend debating with my friends over whether Mr. Angus reminds us of AOC or Elizabeth Warren or Patrick Leahy. John Carney is right about these tariffs. And email continues, but I'm going to wrap it up. Kudos on an awesome daily show, and thanks for... and I look forward to watching it. Thanks, Paul. Appreciate it. One more email from today. This one comes from Samantha Slavin. Been listening to Breitbart for 5 years. So happy to have you back via podcast. You are my favorite. Ooh, thank you. Appreciate that. My husband and I just PCS'd to Maryland this past summer from South Texas. Big culture change. He's about 4 years out of the military retirement, and we were trying to determine where our forever home is going to be. I'm really enjoying all the DMV area has to offer in activities and the weather, but I grew up in Texas with a strong conservative foundation. It's been a little bit of a struggle dealing with liberal leaning and sometimes saturated aspects of this area. I'm curious if you have any insights or suggestions on whether it is a good idea to permanently retire to the DMV. The DMV is the District of Columbia, Maryland, and Virginia. The area, if we should reach for a more conservative and reasonably priced state. You had mentioned before you moved to California and you were in a more conservative mixed area of DC, and was curious if you could share what areas those are. Maryland is super expensive. Luckily, we are still domiciled in Texas, but it would have a wealth of opportunity for my husband's career field when he retires. We are also just starting our family, so things like daycare, schools, location, safety, crime is a lot we have to take into consideration. Any insight would be immensely appreciated. God bless. Samantha, sometimes your age is helpful. I don't like to ask age, but I'm guessing this is actually retired, meaning like retired from military. So I'm guessing probably younger to middle-aged adult family here, not an older family. So here's my recommendation. I have balance. I have biases here, and I will assert the biases as I am known to do. So I will share my opinion, but also where I feel like I'm not fully credible. I'm just speaking on my own personal opinion. I don't mind living in liberal areas. I think that it provides a lot of value to me. First of all, I think it challenges you. I think that you don't get strong muscles if you don't go to the gym. So if you are not surrounded by people who disagree, your ideas are not going to be as sharp. I also like to keep an eye on them. I like to monitor them. I feel like I'm a spy. I feel like I'm in a social experiment where I see what they're really up to. So it not only does it not bother me, I actually feel very much at home in those scenarios. The other reality, and I say this as a challenge to those of you in conservative circles, one of my fantasies is to help create some conservative places to live and cities that are very cool and hip and conservative, but we don't have them. The left does have better coffee shops. They have better restaurants. They have better bars. Like it's just a fact. And they're becoming less political now. They're becoming more apolitical because they know that conservatives are in these areas and they don't really want to alienate them now that Trump's ideas are ascendant. So there is cultural benefit sometimes living in these areas. They also are very beautiful areas. I think Washington, D.C. is our most beautiful major city in terms of a downtown area. And so I think it's kind of cool in a lot of ways. There's also tons of opportunity and it's very fun now that Trump is back. And I admit I'm a little jealous of my friends who are there. And we moved my family from my wife's work out to California. But if you don't think with Trump in there now, I'm not thinking maybe I should be back there, could open up some opportunities, could be a great place to live. I've been thinking about it myself. So I like it there. It is expensive. There are some things that you got to deal with in terms of the city and state governments that are very imperfect, but there is tons of opportunity. There's tons of culture. And if you're the type of person who likes feeling like they live in the center of the world, Washington, D.C. will be the center of the world for at least the next 4 years. Our culture is just not as strong where Hollywood or New York is going to beat it. With Trump in charge and running the world from D.C., that is going to be the centerpiece of the world. So if you're inclined to be there, I kind of like it. But that said, I don't know much about Texas. I've been for work several times. I don't totally get it. I always like Texans. Our most readers are in Texas at Breitbart. So I'm very grateful to Texas. But I don't know it very well. And I just don't know it that well. And I can't picture what living there would be like. I lived in DC. I had great years in DC. I lived in Northern Virginia. Now it was a little too liberal. Taxes are high. There's a lot of government up your butt all the time. Like that happens, but it's, pardon the vulgar expression, just kind of how it feels. But I liked it. Those were great years for me and my family. And so I'm not opposed to going back and I wouldn't discourage you from going. There's downsides. It's liberal area. You're in a very frustrating state government. You're in a frustrating city government. There's going to be things that are outrageous and stupid to you. I don't know if the schools are usable. But then again, where are the schools usable in this country? Very few places. So I'm not negative on it. And I don't think that you should be afraid to live in places that are not necessarily all right wingers. But here is the main point. This is the biggest point. I'll close out on this. I think home is where the family is. And I think you got to make money and you got to have a career, all that stuff. But the most important thing is family. And so living in proximity to grandparents, to cousins, to aunts and uncles, so that you have that family unit, the people who will always be by your side, who, because of your ties, you'll be in it with them through thick and thin. Those people you can really depend on. Where things are best for your family, that is where home is. And I think that's a bigger deal than whatever is the state government or, whatever is the various prevailing political views of the area. Family's number one. So wherever your family is, that should be top on your list. And then I think career comes second. Now we've moved for career in my family, but we've also ended up back closer to family. And that's been kind of good. So maybe we will move again back to DC for my career. That could happen. Very well could happen soon. But as of now, it feels good to be near family. And in this country, you can do really well anywhere, even in blue states, red states and blue states. I really love that question. If you guys can't tell, and if you have any advice questions, I will definitely take those. aloha@alexmarlow.com. This has been a very substantial show, in my opinion. Tomorrow, we have a great show for you. Comedian Brian Callen's going to be here. He is one of the most interesting guys around. He's best friends with Joe Rogan. He's been a stand-up. He's been in many movies you've all seen and is a very thoughtful person about the world. You will enjoy that conversation. We'll have Dr. Gorka this week. We have a recovering Black Lives Matter activist on the docket for another interview that is now on the right and evangelizing to Gen Zers about the ills of the race huckster movement. So much cool stuff on the Alex Marlow Show to come. And I can't say thank you enough for all of you telling 10,000 friends and family members about the show. Wherever you listen, hit the like button, subscribe, all that stuff. It helps a lot. Aloha@alexmarlow.com to correspond. Thanks to producer Misty. We'll talk to you tomorrow.